Hey brewers, it's Billy Bros from the Homebrew Academy reviewing a new gadget for you guys. One I've been using for a little bit and I'm really excited to share with you. And this is from SS Brew Tech. Now I should clarify here, I'm actually reviewing two different items. These are two different products, but because they go together like peanut butter and jelly, I thought it made sense to review them together. So they are the Brew Bucket. This is a fermenter, a stainless steel fermenter. And then there is the FTSs fermentation system, and that's a way to regulate fermentation temperatures. So there's a fermenter, and then there's the way to control the temperatures, and like I said, they go together really well. So the FTSs is made for the brew bucket. They also make conical fermenters, larger conical fermenters, and they have temperature control systems for those as well. I've never used their conicals before, so I'm just going to focus on the brew bucket and the FTSs that goes with it. So the brew bucket is this fermenter you see before you, and just to clarify, this neoprene sleeve does not come with the brew bucket. It goes with the FTSs. I didn't feel like taking it off, so I'll show you a picture of what it looks like when it's not wearing this jacket here. But this is a 6.95 gallon stainless steel fermenter. I've been trying to go stainless for my fermenters for a long time, but those conical fermenters are so damn expensive I could just never justify it. So it's nice that this is a pretty affordable stainless steel fermenter. Stainless is not cheap. This, at the time of this video, is $195 on the SS Brew Tech website, which is what you're going to pay for stainless, and I think it's a great value. So my journey has really been from glass carboys to plastic, and then to a better type of plastic, which is the Spidel I've been using. So I really upgraded from mainly better bottles, the plastic better bottles, to the Spidel fermenter, which I really love. You might have seen my video on that. And now to the stainless fermenter. And stainless in brewing, it's really the pinnacle. Even on the hot side, if you've gone from an aluminum kettle to a stainless kettle, you know that there's a big difference there. And there's still different qualities of stainless steel. This is really high quality. When you see this, you will be impressed by it. It's really nice, so let me show it to you a little bit. It's got a nice stainless lid on it. You can see there it has the hole drilled for the airlock. I will say that this hole is actually pretty sharp, and so first I tried putting the blow-off tube in there, which I almost always do with my fermenters. So I just put I think it was ½ inch silicone blow-off tube into here, just put it through the hole, and it cut a slit in the hole because it's pretty sharp. And then the same thing happened with the airlock. I used one of these small stoppers, rubber stoppers here, and it cut a slit, a cut in that as well. So I was kind of disappointed by that, but I talked to the guys at the company, and they were aware of that, and they've actually fixed it since then. So on the newer lids, and here's a good example, so the lids that come with the, still got some water in there, so the lids that come with the FTSs, this, you probably can't tell, but it's much smoother, so that's not going to cut into any hose or any stopper that you put in there. So that kind of stunk, but I'm glad that they're on top of things and they fixed that, so you shouldn't have to worry about it. Now we also have these great latches on the side. These are spring-loaded latches, so they're really strong, just really durable, and it's easy to take the lid on and off. And then you also have these handles on the side as well, so it makes this thing really easy to lift. And for being stainless steel, it's really light when empty. Now on the bottom you have some rubber caps, so that's nice. It's not going to scratch up something that you put it on. And these things are stackable as well. I only have one, but you could easily get multiple brew buckets and stack these things up. So if you're fermenting in, like I do normally, until I got this, if you're fermenting in a chest freezer, obviously you're going to have to lift this thing out of there, but the handles make that really easy, and there's still enough room between the floor and the bottom of the valve there that you can still get a gravity reading. So I just stick a small cup under there, and I get plenty of beer to take a gravity reading. But this is really nice, this barbed valve here. So you can easily take a gravity reading, or you can transfer into a keg or into your bottling bucket, and it's got a little handle here. And a really cool thing about this is that you can rotate it, and the spigot, so I'll show you guys the spigot. You can rotate the valve here, and it'll rotate the spigot. So what I do when I'm filling up the fermenter, I rotate the spigot down so it doesn't get filled up with a bunch of trub, and then when I transfer out of it, I rotate it up and I rotate it to the point that I start getting clear beer flowing through the tubing. So that's really nice. So you can avoid transferring a lot of trub over to your keg or your bottling bucket or another fermenter. Another nice thing about it is that you can easily see how much beer you have in here. There's markings on the inside for the gallons. It's at 4, 5, and 6, and the half gallons are marked as well. They're etched on there, which is nice. I know my old plastic carboys, I would just put tape on the outside, but that got really messy. And because this mouth it's so wide, you can really get in there. You can get your arm in there and you can scrub it out. And stainless steel, that's one of the great benefits of it. It's tough and it cleans up really easily, and it's not porous at all. You're not going to get bacteria hiding in there like you might with plastic if you get a scratch in your plastic carboy. And finally, this thing is just really compact. So you can see by the size of this, it's very small. It's about the size of a 5 or 6 gallon plastic carboy. So it's got a small footprint, which is really important to me. I don't like my gear taking up a ton of room. So this is a really great fermenter. So let me move on now and talk about the FTSs. So like I said, these two things go together like peanut butter and jelly. I feel like if you get the Brew bucket, then you almost have to get the FTSs. They just work really well together. So I'll demonstrate here how it works. I mean, this is essentially just a way to control your fermentation temperatures, which is super important, especially when fermentation heats up there over the first few days and you want to bring it back down. So what it essentially does is it recirculates cold or hot water. If you want to heat it up, it can do that as well. But it recirculates water through these coils. This is submerged in the beer, so the beer's about maybe right here. And you have an external heating or cooling source. I'll show that to you in a second. And this just goes on the lid here. So when you get this kit, you can see you get the coils and you get this specialty lid here with the holes already cut. And I was surprised by how easy it was to set up. I was a little intimidated at first, but it's not a whole lot of parts. And I got this whole thing set up in about 5 or 10 minutes. So you really just screw in, or you bolt on the coils here, and then there's a thermo well right here that bolts on. So you have 3 holes total, 2 for the coils and 1 for the thermo well, and then of course the 1 for the airlock or blow-off tube. So that goes on like that, and then you have your very nice controller here, and when it lights up you get these nice blue numbers. So that goes on the middle. This is the temperature probe here, which of course goes into the thermo well. And you have your airlock, and that goes on here. And they also, like I said, when I was using the blow-off tube, I just put the tubing in through this airlock hole. Now they actually have a blow-off tube assembly that looks like it works a lot better, and it's a barb that gets bolted on through this hole. So look for that as well on their website. I'll try to show you the cooling source. So here we go. So you're going to have to set this up yourself. I had to buy a separate cooler for this because I didn't have one of my own. You might have one that'll work. This is a 28 quart cooler, and I found that works really well. It's a good size. I've seen a lot of coolers that people are using with this, and they're freaking huge, and I don't think they have to be that big, and that's kind of the whole point of this thing, is to have a smaller footprint. So this 28 quart one worked great for me, and I cut the holes in it through the lid, and then you get the tubing with the kit as well, the vinyl tubing, which you just need to cut in half because you're going to have 2 pieces. You have the in and the out. And then you get the pump as well. So there's the pump. So all you do is you take the 2 pieces of tubing and you hook them up to the in and the out. So let me just show you a really short clip. It'll much better demonstrate how this whole thing works. So coming out of the controller, you have your temperature probe, which is right here, and that goes into the thermo well. You can see it actually just cut on. Don't know if you can notice that. And there's the cat. She loves this thing too. So this goes into the thermo well. It's pretty cool. So this looks pretty short, right? But you can actually pull this out. And then if you have a lot of slack, I had a lot of slack, you can tuck it back in into the controller there, which is pretty cool. So you don't have a bunch of wire dangling. Okay, so that goes into there. And then this is power. So I just have this hooked up to an outlet. And then over here, this is power to the pump. So let me show you that. All right, we have the pump down at the bottom here. Right there, so that just sits on the bottom. And then I just have the one frozen bottle in here right now. Fermentation is over right now and I'm just maintaining at 70, so it's not too hard to keep it there. So all I need is one frozen, what is this, 1 quart or 1 liter bottle, so that's enough. And then, so it pumps through here, so you can see I drilled the holes in the lid right here, and those are pretty tight. So it pumps through here, goes through the coils that are underneath the lid that go into the bucket, and then it returns through this one, comes back through here, and you just saw it spitting water back in here. And that's it. And then it recirculates back through. So I'll just show you an example of how you can change the settings on this thing. So you can see I set it at 70 and we're at 69.8 right now. So it really doesn't have much overshoot at all. It's going to wind up pretty darn close to whatever your set point is. So the way it works is really simple. Just click set here, and then if I want to set it to say 66, go down to there, hit set again, and don't know if you can hear that, but you can probably see it cut on. So it tells the pump, hey pump, we need colder water in here. And so the pump cuts on, brings it down to 66, and as long as that water is cold enough to bring it down to 66, then you'll be good. So it's a pretty simple setup, but pretty brilliant too, and works really well. So in my experience using this, the cooling has worked really well. So on my most recent brew, I chilled down to 70 with my plate chiller, and then I took this down to 60 using the FTSs, and it only took 15, maybe 20 minutes tops, with a couple frozen water bottles in there. I normally do a 1 gallon frozen bottle in here with a couple, maybe 1 or 2 1 liter frozen bottles, and that works great. I was worried about maybe having to change them out all the time, but at the peak of fermentation, you check it once a day, maybe even once every 2 days, and you're good to go. It's not going to overshoot like a swamp cooler where there's no temperature regulation. You might have seen a blog post I did a few years back where I did that, and I put too many frozen water bottles in the swamp cooler and it overshot like crazy. That's not going to happen with this. You just need to make sure that your water in here is cold enough to get it down to wherever you want it, and then the controller will handle the rest. So you're not going to be changing out bottles a whole lot. I haven't tried lagering. I really doubt you could lager with this because, of course, with the lagering process, you need to bring it down to near freezing, 32, 33 degrees, and hold it for months. Not really feasible. You could ferment a lager, though. I believe that is possible, although I haven't tried it. So if you want to hold it at, say, 50 degrees, I think that's very doable. You're going to have to check and change out the bottles a little bit more, but it's definitely something I think is possible. So overall, I'm really happy with both of these. If you ever wanted a stainless steel fermenter and you were like me and you just couldn't afford the conical, this is a really great way to go. And oops, that's a great price for a stainless steel fermenter. So it's 195 bucks, like I said at the time of this video. And then the FTSs, fermentation control is super important. This is a small footprint way to do it, and it just works so well with the brew bucket here, and it's so efficient having the coils in here versus doing something like the chest freezer. So it's a really great way to do that, and that's 250 bucks at the time of this video. And make sure you check the website to see what's included with each of these. That could change at any time. So make sure you check that. Obviously, it's a lot of money. It's a lot of money, but I think it's worth it. There's certain people, of course, that are totally fine just fermenting in a plastic bucket, and that's totally cool if that's your thing. But there's a lot of people that want to spend the money on higher quality gear. So the question for them is this worth it? And yes, I think it is. I think if you buy this system, one or both of these, it shows up at your house, you're going to be impressed by it. You're not going to think it's a waste of money. The biggest drawback to the FTSs is obviously changing out the water bottles, but what are you going to do? It's a great system, and you got to have a heating or cooling source somehow. So it doesn't bother me if you really want to get away from that and not have to do anything manual. Then you're looking at a glycol system, which actually plenty of people have done with this, and so that could work really well too. So hope that helped you guys out. If you have any questions or comments, leave them down in the comment section, and I will talk to you later. Thanks.